How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 1.
Greetings, conversationalists. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States of America. I'm delighted to have you with me. The phone number is 877-973-7425. You can also text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777 and get the live stream, the show notes, the podcast, the 4 things to know in the afternoon, everything you need. I'm going to begin with it's not per se the headlines, though you should know, and we will get to them. Jacob Fry and Tim Walz have doubled down now. They had their one day of trying to tone things down, and now they're back to attacking the Trump administration and deportations. They don't want to stop. And I want to make a larger point here and defend the deportations. Let me start here in Georgia, not far from me. By my window is a I-16 where it starts in middle Georgia, goes to the coast to Savannah, goes through Bullock County. Bullock County is home to Georgia Southern University in Statesboro. In Bullock County, the sheriff's office announced on the 22nd it had arrested 26-year-old Kenneth Marino Guzman. On January 12th, Guzman invaded a mobile home and then held a 11-year-old and her 10-year-old sister at knife point and raped the 11-year-old. Mr. Guzman is an illegal alien. He came into the country during Joe Biden's presidency. Now, that is out my window. To the east of me, to the north of me, is Ola High School in McDonough, Georgia. A progressive group, Dream Defenders, circulated on social media into Snapchat groups and Instagram and the like, a call for a student walkout at Ola High School in McDonough. The school's not involved. It's a progressive group of agitators trying to get students to walk out to, in the words of the flyer, raise awareness about immigration issues communities. That's actually what it says, immigration issues communities. The flyer, in all caps, says, no one is illegal on stolen land. Now, this is part of a nationwide effort on Friday to do a day of striking and school walkouts to protest ICE. There won't be a walkout to raise awareness about the victims who were raped a couple hundred miles from Ola High School by an illegal alien. There won't be a walkout to protest the murder of Laken Riley or any of the other victims of illegal aliens in the country. Progressives often say they're okay with criminals being deported, provided they're found guilty of an underlying crime. But what they and a lot of Democratic politicians refuse to admit is that crossing into the United States illegally is a crime. They insist it's not a crime, but it actually is a crime. 8 U.S.C. 1325. It is unlawful to enter the United States of America without the permission of the United States. The first offense is a misdemeanor, which is still a crime, just not a felony, but it's a crime. There are also civil penalties. Progressives, though, want more than just entering the country illegally. They want another underlying crime. But had Kenneth Guzman been detained and deported, an 11-year-old near Statesboro, Georgia, would not have been held at knife point and raped 2 weeks ago. Mr. Guzman had no known prior arrests. He had no record. According to the logic of the left, he had to rape someone to be deported. We shouldn't have to wait for rape to deport him. I'm going to go with the Pew Research Center here because it tries to be less partisan and as accurate as possible. And the Pew Research Center estimates nearly 11 million illegal aliens came into the United States when Joe Biden was president. The higher numbers tend to lump in other illegal aliens, but 11 million. In 2023, over 3 million entered the United States just in 2023. Some came with legitimate claims for asylum, but most didn't. While here, illegal aliens do consume taxpayer resources, most often related to emergency room visits. Public schools accommodate their children. They do consume taxpayer resources. Now, progressives argue that illegal aliens are statistically less likely to commit crime than American citizens, but the predicate act of coming into the United States is a crime, and they do a three-card Monty to distract from the fact that they've already broken the law the moment they cross the border. They've already committed a crime. So statistically, 100% of illegal aliens have committed a crime. And also, if you got rid of the illegal aliens, guess what? There would be a reduction in crime. There would be one less rape in Bullitt County. Lake and Riley would still be alive. Now, there's the flip side of this, too, that we don't often talk about, and that's the abuse often inflicted on illegal aliens. My very first case, I've mentioned this before as a lawyer, was representing an illegal alien. He had saved up money to buy a mobile home. He and his wife worked on farms and doing construction and landscaping. He tried to buy a mobile home for him and his wife. He had saved his money, $50,000 he had saved up to buy this mobile home. An illegal alien saved $50,000 to buy a mobile home. And the person who sold it to him swapped it out for something that was used and broken and then told him, if you complain, I'll have you deported. Actually called him profane words in doing so. I won the case. A few years ago, I've mentioned this before, I found a wallet in my backyard. A man's entire life was in this wallet. He had a Mexican identification card. He had international calling cards, had a lot of money. He had pesos. He had dollars. Everything about this man was there. And he was clearly an illegal alien who was working with the landscaper that I used at the time. So I called to return the man's wallet, and the landscaper denied the man even worked for the company. But he clearly did. He had been in my backyard on the lawnmower. So I drove to their office. I dropped off the wallet, and then I fired the company, not because they used illegal aliens, but because they treated one of their workers that way. They weren't willing to even acknowledge that this man, a fellow human made in the image of God, worked for them. They were afraid that I would get mad at them or some such, or call the cops on them, I guess. I don't know. But this man's whole life was in this wallet, and it was now in my possession. I gave it back, and I fired him because they just were unwilling to help somebody who clearly needed that wallet. They wouldn't return it to him. Progressives often ask who's going to pick the crops. They used to ask who'll pick the cotton. Now it's who'll pick the crops. Who'll take care of the elderly? Who will take care of their kids? Who will take care of their grandparents? Or who will work the drive-through lines? Or who will work at the local gas station? Who will do the jobs they don't want to do? We fought a war over 100 years ago about slave labor. We should not allow the Democrats and progressives to establish a serf class of illegal aliens in the United States who very often are treated poorly and taken advantage of by the very progressives who claim to love them. I've been critical of how Gregory Bovino and his Border Patrol agents manage the deportation issue. You know I have. American citizens and legal residents have been swept up and detained. A lot of people on the right want to deny this, but it's true, and it's very well documented. And in fact, there have been a couple instances where the Border Patrol agents said, well, they harassed us, they hit us, they assaulted us. Video cameras showed that wasn't true. They made it up. They lied. They rounded up Americans. We have a constitutional right to travel in this country, and part of the constitutional right to travel means you're not required to show your papers to travel in the United States. And yet the Border Patrol, in this heavy-handed way with Kristi Noem and Corey Lewandowski's strategy and Greg Bovino's strategy, has put a lot of Americans in a position where they feel like they have to carry their passport or their birth certificate to show they're American citizens or legal resident aliens. You may not think that's happening, but that's actually happening. I have had the people call into this program. I know people who have experienced this. People feel fear. They are Hispanics, they are Americans, and they have been stopped by Border Patrol. And in this country, you have a right to travel. You don't have to have your paperwork when you travel in this country. It's well-settled constitutional law, and yet the Border Patrol is demanding to see papers from people merely because they are Hispanic. They have no probable cause to stop these people other than that, and that's wrong, and I've been critical of it. People cannot be denied the right to travel except for probable cause, and the Border Patrol has been dishonest about that. They've detained people they shouldn't have detained, and they've often claimed aggression when there has been none to lie to excuse their detainment. It's true. That has happened. And the lies and the dishonesty came to a head in Minnesota this past weekend with the death of Alex Preddy. Mr. Preddy did intervene and interfere. He did all those things. But he also was shot and killed after being taken down by Border Patrol agents. And it appears from the eyewitnesses and the video that he was disarmed beforehand. Overnight, it came out from the White House that many of the statements that Stephen Miller, Kristi Noem, and others made came from the Border Patrol agents on the scene, including Gregory Bovino, who misrepresented the situation and didn't follow protocol. And now it appears that one of the miscommunication problems is the agents on the ground immediately lawyered up. Why would they do that? Because they had disarmed Mr. Preddy before killing him. There's no need to slander him, to call him a domestic terrorist, to call him a would-be assassin, or to say he wanted a mass casualty event. He was disarmed, and then he was killed. Noem elevated Bovino over Tom Homan, the border czar, who favored a more controlled plan of targeting known criminals, gang members, drug dealers, and illegal aliens detained by local authorities as suspects or people arrested for driving under the influence. And he also favored detaining recent arrivals, the people who've come in the last 5 years. This wave of 11 million illegal immigrants who came in the Biden administration, and we know the 11 million number's right because they documented those people. And then there are the gotaways as well who got into the country. Holman's plan makes a ton of sense. His plan can be executed without mass roundups. He's always opposed the mass roundups. But his plan still requires local enforcement cooperation. He's got to have the local police involved. They've got to flag illegal aliens who are detained. Now, it's notable, for those of you who are progressives, you need to understand this. California honors detain requests from ICE. California, Los Angeles, San Francisco, pick the wackadoo area of California. They still cooperate with ICE and Border Patrol more than Minneapolis and Minnesota does. Without that cooperation, the agents are going to have to stay in Minnesota. Deporting illegal aliens is a sound public policy. We're not stolen land, contrary to what these wackadoo progressives say. It is a crime to enter the country. You shouldn't have to commit a second crime. You shouldn't need a judicial warrant to remove someone from the country who is a known illegal alien. That's what the Democrats want right now. That's their fighting point. That's their sticking point in funding the Department of Homeland Security. Is they want a judicial warrant to remove a known illegal alien from the country. That's nonsense, and neither the administration nor the Republicans should cave. We need more deportations. The policy and the plan that Kristi Noem and Gregory Bovino and Corey Lewandowski and Stephen Miller wanted, bad plan. Bad plan that's now led to the deaths of 2 American citizens who did interfere, who did get in the way, who did die in the process. But it's 2 dead Americans. How many more dead Americans are we supposed to have while they carry out this plan? When we could, in fact, carry out Tom Homan's plan, which has always made sense. Get the gang, get the criminals, get the drug dealers, get the recent arrivals, get the people who are detained for DUIs or suspects in crimes, round them up and deport them. The United States is a sovereign nation. The borders have to mean something. The enforcement of those borders have to mean something. The president can reclaim the high ground here on this issue and show just how insane the Democrats are on this issue. 2 weeks ago in southeast Georgia, An 11-year-old girl was held at knife point by an illegal alien who came into this country during the Biden administration, and she was raped. The progressive position is that that illegal alien should not have been deported until after being convicted of this rape. Had we enforced the laws of this country and secured the borders, that 11-year-old would have never been raped. Laken Riley would have never been murdered. The others who lost lives to illegal aliens, they would still be alive. And it's a damning indictment on the progressives in this country that they value the lives of the illegal aliens more than their fellow citizens. They say they're doing it to love their neighbors. What about their neighbor who did everything the right way and complied with the law? The deaths of Alex Preddy and Renee Good, they're tragedies. But so are the deaths of Laken Riley and the others who died at the hands of illegal aliens, and those get excused by the left. I make no justification for the death of Alex Preddy. It was bad. But also, enforcement of our laws is good and moral and just, and we should round up all of the illegal aliens and deport them. And if you're not willing to say that, there's something wrong with you. They broke the law coming into this country. It is a crime, and the punishment should be rounding them up and deporting them.
Guys, when I started thinking about my family and taking care of my family and taking care of myself, there are overwhelming number of options out there, and you just kind of get bogged down. The inertia of being overwhelmed means you may not act. Well, let me tell you about SelectQuote, because for SelectQuote, for over 40 years, they've been helping Americans understand their options to get coverage they need. Over $700 billion in coverage and counting. As a broker, their mission's simple: to find you the right insurance policy at the best price. They can take the guesswork out of finding the right life insurance policy for your family, one that meets your budget. Life insurance is never cheaper than it is today. Get the right life insurance for you, for less, no less. And save more than 50% at SelectQuote.com/Eric, E-R-I-C-K. Save more than 50% on term life insurance at SelectQuote.com/Eric today to get started. That's SelectQuote.com/Eric. Don't get overwhelmed. Get SelectQuote.
Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425 if you want to be on the program. Listen, I feel like I should comment on, I think I should comment on Ilhan Omar last night giving a speech. Someone sprayed a liquid on her out of a syringe. She continued to give the speech. There are a lot of people on the right thinking, well, is this not weird that she didn't know what was sprayed on her and she can continue to give the speech? And the guy has progressive activist kids he easily found online. Was it a setup to make her look good? I don't know, and I'm not going to dive into the conspiracy theories. What I know is that someone sprayed something on Ilhan Omar last night, urine or vinegar or something. People there said it smelled like vinegar. I don't know. She continued to give her speech. Everybody on the immigration issue is spun up. And every time there's an act of violence, everyone says tone it down, and then everybody ratchets it back up again after a day or so. So I don't have any idea what the motivation was. Guy looked nuts. I'm not going to say he's a progressive because his kids are. Sometimes that's the case. Sometimes it's not. I don't know. But it happened, so you can't say I didn't talk about it. I'm just not going to fan the flames on it. Now, I need to tell you about Eden Pure. The thunderstorm, you can get 3 of them and save $200. What you do is you go to EdenPureDeals.com and you use the discount code ERIC3. Now, this Eden Pure thunderstorm, there are no filters to change. You don't have to get filter subscriptions. It generates ozone that wipes out odors at their source. It generates plasma, so it kills bacteria and viruses that filter through the machine. And, you can use this as an air purifier because it gets rid of the dust and the pet dander and all that floated in the air. I use it as an odor eliminator. I keep one in my travel bag. They're small. I have really enjoyed the product. And you can get 3 of them for less than $200. And if they don't work for you, they got a money-back guarantee. You can find out all the details at EdenPureDeals.com. Use the discount code ERIC3. Get 3 of them and save $200 on them. These things pack a wallop. So you have one for upstairs, your downstairs, your basement, your RV, your travel bag, wherever you need it. You can hold them in your hand. And again, I've used them in rental cars. I've used them in hotel rooms. I keep one in my travel bag for that purpose. Wipe out smoke odors, litter box odors, you name it. EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is ERIC3, E-R-I-C-K, the number 3. Welcome back. It's Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, would be very, very, very happy to help you. Take your phone calls. Sorry, I'm trying to do 3 things at once here. Oh, look, there's news. What is this? Patrick Reed has informed the PGA Tour of his desire to return, a 9-time PGA Tour winner. He's seeking reinstatement for the 2027 season as a result of resigning his membership in 2022. Prior to violating any PGA Tour regulations, Patrick's eligible to compete on the PGA Tour as a non-member beginning in 26 and may pursue improved PGA Tour status via the DP World Tour. Similar to anyone reinstated under the returning members program, any former PGA Tour member returning to the PGA Tour would be ineligible for participation in the player equity program through 2030. Well, there you go. Fascinating. Slowly rebuilding the PGA Tour as LIV continues to collapse. Brooks Koepka coming back as well. I have hit peak middle-age status paying attention to golf. I just want you people to know this. Now, I gotta bring you up to the latest on Minnesota. I gotta repeat again, and I was actually startled to find this out, and I have reached out to several different friends of mine, members of Congress, reached out to the White House and others, and everyone confirms this to be true. And in fact, several Democrats I've talked to confirm it to be true. And it blew my mind. I mentioned it earlier. You may have missed it, but Minnesota, and in particular Minneapolis, offers the federal government less cooperation than any city in the state of California. Did you know that? I did not know that. And yeah, Democrats have confirmed this to me. Republicans have confirmed this to me. People in the White House have confirmed this to me. People in California have confirmed this to me. People in Minnesota have confirmed this to me. That the state of California and the cities therein give more cooperation to ICE than Minneapolis. So, for example, Jacob Fry's position in Minneapolis is that if a criminal, illegal alien, has been convicted of a separate crime other than entering the country, has gone to jail after conviction, when the sentence is served, they notify immigration authorities to deport the person. That's their only level of cooperation. When ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, sends a notice to local law enforcement in Los Angeles or San Francisco or anywhere else, and almost anywhere in the country, and says, hey, be on the lookout for this illegal alien. They're suspected in your area. If they get detained, please let us know. We will come get them. All of those areas honor that request from immigration, except for Minneapolis. In just about every quarter of the country, including in a lot of sanctuary cities, if an individual is pulled over for a DUI and is suspected to not be an American citizen, their immigration status is checked, and immigration authorities are notified if it's an illegal alien. Oftentimes, this comes about when the person does not have a local driver's license, or the local driver's license is flagged as not being an American citizen, depending on the state and jurisdiction they're in. Minneapolis refuses to do that. Minneapolis refuses any enforcement of federal immigration laws, saying that this is the federal government's responsibility. But then Minneapolis does not cooperate with the federal government when the federal government attempts to enforce its immigration law. There is no cooperation at all by the city of Minneapolis. Again, the federal government gets more cooperation from Berkeley, California, than from Minneapolis, Minnesota. You need to understand that and why the federal government is in Minnesota and they're not doing this elsewhere. Minneapolis has the most extreme sanctuary city policies in the United States. And Minnesota has extreme sanctuary city policies. And they're not alone in that regard. You do need to know that. And there is growing tension on the left of how they should cooperate at all when it comes to immigration. And the president has tried to redirect policy and de-escalate by sending Tom Homan. And today, Minneapolis is not only saying no, the governor of Minnesota is saying he would beat the crap out of, except he didn't say crap, J.D. Vance. This is the president talking with Will Cain yesterday on Fox News.
The message is out that Tom Homan is in.
Yeah.
Commander Bovino is supposedly leaving Minneapolis along with some CBP agents. Is this a pullback?
I don't think it's a pullback. It's a little bit of a change. Everybody in this room that has a business, you make little changes. Bovino is very good, but he's a pretty out there kind of a guy. And in some cases, that's good. Maybe it wasn't good here. But you have to understand, when I watch some of the people that I've been watching over the last few weeks, these are paid insurrectionists. These are paid agitators. These people aren't normal, like OG, that, they're incensed about anything. How do you get incensed when you go into a state and you're taking criminals out? You're taking monsters out, murderers. We had 11,888 murderers let into our country by other countries, by Biden with his open border stupid policy. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You talk about bad policy. Open borders where people were coming, so the whole world, the Congo, Venezuela, all over the world, they're letting people in from their prisons and they're feeding them into the United States. And they're murderers and they're drug dealers and they're everything else you can think of, every bad name you can think of. And they let them in by the millions. We closed the border. We have nobody coming into our country anymore. Literally.
Nobody coming into the country. He's right. But we've got a lot of them here. 11 million is the reasonable estimate from Pew. I'm intentionally using the Pew Research number here because it's the least provocative number. They've tried to get it as accurate as they can. The result is that they say 11 million during Biden's tenure, not total. It's like 15 to 20 million total, but 11 million of that during Biden's tenure. And the people of Minneapolis would rather protect them than protect the citizens of the nation. Now, I got asked this morning, I did radio WBRP in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where I'm on the radio there. I got asked on the radio this morning down there, why not just say, okay, you know what, Minnesota, you have them, and you be responsible for the fallout. The problem is that the illegal aliens don't necessarily stay there. Look at the Laken Riley situation. Laken Riley was murdered by an illegal alien who first had gone to New York and taken advantage of New York sanctuary policies, and then got out of jail before ICE showed up to detain him, made his way to Georgia where he was arrested again, and the locals there, the local authorities there, got him out of jail as quick as possible before he could be detained. It was a sanctuary city policy in Athens, Georgia, which, by the way, you should know the local officials there insist they don't have sanctuary policies, and they did. And most of them have lost their election. The DA there got booted out of office by an independent candidate after the fallout from that. So the illegal aliens, they go to Minnesota, but they don't have to stay in Minnesota. So you got to go find them. If they're there, you got to go find them. And what is the Tom Homan plan? It is to go after the criminals, to go after the drug dealers, to go after the people who are known to be in gangs, and to go after the recent arrivals. He's not talking about the woman who's been here for 40 years. He's talking about the people who came here in the last 5. Why do we know that the Pew 11 million number is a pretty accurate assessment? Because all 11 million of them, plus a number of gotaways of maybe a million or more, flooded the country, were documented by the Biden administration and released into the country. Actually, I tell you about the 11 million includes the potential gotaways of a couple million. So you got about 9 million who are documented and 3 million who are undocumented. And the documented ones aren't supposed to be here, but they let them roam the country. The others sneaked over the border, were never caught. And that's an estimate to get you to 11 million, plus the additional 5 to 9 million who are already here. And Holman's point is, We have a list of roughly 9 to 11 million illegal immigrants who came here in the last 5 years. Let's find them and deport them. That makes sense. And then we have other illegal aliens who they got away. They weren't documented as they crossed the border. They got away. They might be gang members. Let's find the gang members in the country and say, are you an illegal alien? Okay, you're gone. You may not have committed a crime today, but you're an illegal alien and you're a gang member. Get out. And get them out. And that's a bridge too far for the left. Jacob Soboroff is a far left progressive at MS Now, which was MSNBC. He was an NBC News reporter. He's a political activist who masquerades as a journalist. And it's notable that when the company broke between NBC and MS Now, he went with the far left. And he was on MS Now talking about Tom Homan.
This is what he's doing right now, and putting Tom Homan there instead of Gregory Bovino is putting one of the architects of the family separation policy in charge of immigration enforcement. Tom Homan said to me on the second day of the raids in Los Angeles, someone is going to die. They knew this all along. Renee Good died. Alex Preddy died. There have been migrants that have died in these enforcement operations, and this is something that Tom Homan has telegraphed 7 months ago to me. Even if Kristi Noem was out, when he replaced Kirstjen Nielsen in the wake of family separation, he put in Kevin McAleen, another operator who was involved in the policy. After Kevin McAleen was out, he put in Chad Wolf, another operator who was involved in the policy. You're hearing nothing about Stephen Miller, the architect of family separation, the architect of the largest mass deportation campaign in American history, losing his job. You're hearing about an optical change, removing Greg Bovino, who, was on the scene minutes after he threw that tear gas canister last week in Minneapolis. You're hearing about Greg Bovino moving out and Tom Homan moving in. Substantively, I cannot imagine that they're going to have an operational posture change. Perhaps things get quiet for a minute, but we're only going to have to wait and see. I'm just telling you, the personnel that are there are the same hardline personnel that Donald Trump has been relying on for the 2 terms of his presidency.
I have to tell you, this guy is not plugged in at all if he believes that. Because I actually know that Donald Trump has re-empowered Tom Homan, because Tom Homan and Todd Lyons, who is the head of ICE, Tom Homan's the border czar, Todd Lyons is the head of ICE, and Rodney Scott is the head of Customs and Border Protection. And the 3 of them opposed the Noem-Bovino plan for these mass roundups where you show up at Home Depot and Target and you find anyone who looks Hispanic and you question them and ask to see their papers. It's very, very, very funny that it's funny for him, this progressive activist who masquerades as a journalist, to say this is no change in policy when the very policy that has caused these problems is the one that Tom Homan, Todd Lyons, and Rodney Scott were sidelined from. Tangent. Because some of you are having the same problem I have, because I know my audience. Rodney Scott is the head of Customs and Border Patrol. And there's a reason that I always pause, and some of you know the reason. Because Rodney Scott is also the greatest barbecuer in the United States of America and has an entire episode of Chef's Table developed about him, and that's a different Rodney Scott. And every time I start to say Rodney Scott, Chief of Border Protection, I'm like, wait a second, it can't be Rodney Scott, because that's like the barbecue. Also an excellent cookbook, Rodney Scott's World of Barbecue, and his cookbook, phenomenal. He's a James Beard Foundation Award winner. Phenomenal barbecue. Those of you in Metro Atlanta or in Charleston, South Carolina, have the luxury of Rodney Scott's Whole Hog Barbecue. It is phenomenal. Also, Birmingham. Those of you in Birmingham, you got one that's open in Birmingham as well. Phenomenal. But that's a different Rodney Scott from the one in charge of Customs and Border Protection. And every time I mention Rodney Scott, you hear me pause, like, wait a second, is it Rodney Scott? It is Rodney Scott, and it's a different Rodney Scott. Okay. We can move back in off the tangent. Now, the escalation here with ICE has picked up. This is the Philadelphia DA, the far left Philadelphia DA. Listen to this rhetoric.
This is a small bunch of wannabe Nazis. That's what they are. In a country of 350 million, we outnumber them. If we have to hunt you down, the way they hunted down Nazis for decades, we will find your identities. We will find you. We will achieve justice. And
they will hunt ICE agents like they're Nazis. How is that toning down the rhetoric after multiple deaths, multiple shootings of ICE agents? The shooting of Renee Good, the shooting of Alex Preddy, that just amplifies and amps up the situation. The Democrats here are being deeply irresponsible, and they're playing with fire because most Americans favor deporting illegal immigrants, particularly those who've come here in the past 5 years. If the Democrats want to defend the illegal aliens and take this to the voters in November, good luck to you on that. Greetings, conversationalists. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, do not forget to text ERIC, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777 and get everything you need to stay in touch. I would like to give you all your laugh for the day. In North Carolina, let me set this up for you. In North Carolina, there has been a rally against ICE. And a young woman showed up at the campus protest wearing an N95 mask for the protest in North Carolina and was interviewed by a reporter. I'm going to play for you now a snippet of the interview of a masked protester at an anti-ICE event and a reporter. Oh, really? Now that's the setup, and then the audio on the video didn't come through. Really? Let's try this again, people. This is too good. Nope. Okay, that's fine. I got to tell you what happened. This woman has this video. She goes to this protest. She's wearing an N95 mask, and they ask her for her name, and she says, Christina with a C-H. My last name, Mamone, M-A-I-M-O-N-E. Why are you wearing the mask? Because I don't want ICE to know who I am. Yes, literally, this woman wears a mask so that ICE can't detect who she is, and then spells her name for the camera. Wow. This hour of the program brought to you by Van Allen Golf. Check them out at vanallengolf.com. Maker of fine golf equipment. I love my putter. You will too. Get one. vanallengolf.com. Text golf to 33777. Now, I need to tell you guys, I've been working with Incogni, my latest advertiser, to get my information off the web. Incogni is spelled I-N-C-O-G-N-I. Incogni.com/Eric. You can get 60% off. I use them. Now, why do I use them? Because there are a bunch of people tracker sites online where your information is for sale to data breakers. Insurance companies can get it and find out your information when they're trying to vet you. And Incogni takes it all down. They've already, in my case, gotten 339 data brokers online to take my information down. I'm not going to give you the names of these sites, but they've got the whole list, and the ones they're fighting with, they're sending lawyers to demand that they take my information down so that people can't track you online. Incogni.com/Eric is the website. INCOGNI. Incogni.com/Eric. You get 60% off. They will work behind the scenes to take your information off the internet.